Hey everybody, what's going on? Alan here, and welcome to the Gibson Garage Speed Shop, and thank you also for picking my video to tackle this project. And I also want to say these aren't my only videos. I don't do just repair videos. I also work on like performance upgrades. My Chevy OBS here and my Dodge Magnum. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, check out the playlist. It's called Project Smog Legal is the OBS, and the Magnum's just Magnum. My wife calls it Diana, you know, Wonder Woman. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, please subscribe, hit the bell, like the video too. But in this case, in this video, we're working on a 2018 Chevy Trax with the turbocharged 1.4 liter ecotec. We're going to be doing the water pump, the thermostat, and the two hoses, and we'll have to get new motor mount bolts also for the passenger side, 6 of them in this case. I think if you've got the Cruise, you're going to need like 8, but this one you'll need 6 on the passenger side motor mount. They are torque to yield, and you don't want to reuse those because they could break on you when you go to, if you go to torque them down properly, because you have to torque them to a certain amount, and then you got to do like an extra 30 degrees. And the last thing I want is brittle bolts in there. Even if they don't break, they could be a little more prone to snapping too, and you don't want that coming back on you. So I'm going with the AC Delco water pump, just for, there are some things I don't mind going generic like Duralast or Brake Best or whatever from the auto parts stores, but in this case with the water pump, I want to do the factory option. Just so I don't get that generic impeller design. Seems like every store has their own, you know, design for the impeller, and they were all different from the design of the AC Delco impeller, so I feel like I really want to get the factory one. And it also, the thermostat isn't a big deal. I did go, you know, store brand on that. It's a Duralast, but these do run hot, like 220 degree thermostat, so you don't want to cheap out on the water pump. Now the water pump's not going to be here today, and neither will the motor mount bolts. Those are going to be here tomorrow morning. So, but I can still get a head start on it. I'll get it drained and get everything taken apart, and I can do the hoses, also the 2 main radiator hoses, and get that done. And then when the pump and the bolts show up tomorrow morning, we can put that part of it back together. Oh, and also you're going to need an assortment of external Torx sockets. So don't forget that. There's E10s and 12s and stuff in here. It's like a Torx bit, but it's, you know, the other way, innies instead of outies, or vice versa. All right, so I took the tire off, as you can see here, and I'm going to remove this whole plastic liner. And just so I can remove this plastic too underneath, I'm going to remove all the plastic. You got some T20s, some panel clips. You got a row of 7 mils going along the front, and like a few or 4 10 mil bolts also holding on, all just holding on some plastic. Now you may not need to do this if you don't want to. You might even be able to do everything from up top. Just remove the air box, and you know, you want to wedge your hands in there and you know, deal with that. That's fine, but for the sake of the video and better vision, I'm gonna remove all this stuff just for you guys, really, so you can see what, and then you can decide what you want to do yourselves later. So yeah, I'm gonna grab my panel clip pliers here and go around and start undoing. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, and then there's like a mix of T20s and some more panel clips underneath here, and then I can work on getting the center pieces out, and then I can take the long one going across the whole front bumper out. Alright, now we can see the petcock here, so we can grab our drain bucket and let that go. Make sure you release the lid to let it out. We'll just let that splash all over the place for a while. Maybe put this thing up on a jack or a higher platform somehow. Oh, I got an idea. There we go. Could even set it up on top of the spare tire too, or lower the vehicle. All right, time to take the belt off. That's an E14. I'm gonna put the jack under the engine and just the slightest bit of pressure there. I'm gonna hold it up so we can do the motor mounts. Alright, so this was a 14 or a 15 mil. I thought it was recording, but I wasn't. Sorry guys. And this one will slide out if you don't have it jacked up too high. This one will slide out, and it was covered in oil for some reason. So I'll have to take a close look at that once we get it further apart and see if there's a good reason for that. And I did break this one loose, and I broke that one loose. Those are the three on the bottom portion, but I'm not pulling them all the way out yet, or even, you know, pulling all the threads out yet. I just kind of broke them loose. And we're gonna move to the top. All right, this hose clamp here is a 7 mil. And hopefully I'm doing the right one. There's like a plastic coupler. Okay, set that aside. We'll unplug this little red tab, and I can squeeze it in, and I can yank this off. And I think this whole box will just come out now. Pry up on here first and then slide this way out of the fender wall. Yikes. And how much are we taking with us here? Okay, we're gonna take this whole ducting and everything. This is where the ducting popped in here, the inlet hose. Probably could have just pulled that off first, a little pop, and it'll slide right off of the box. And then the box pops out of that hole there and these two here. So I'm hoping undoing these three will put all the weight of the motor onto the jack, and then I can remove those lower bolts that I broke loose without risk of, you know, stripping them out because there's so much weight on it. Just like that. Oh, hey, come back here. Okay. We'll take off these three nuts. This is different than the Cruise already. And also the radiator hoses are different than the Chevy Cruise. I don't think there's any videos out there of the Trax, the Chevy Trax yet. So I think these hoses for the Trax here are going to be a lot easier than it was for the Cruise. Okay, so now that's nice and loose, and I can pull these bolts out and get this lower piece off, but man, I can't get my hand in there. Try reaching from underneath. That's easier. That's a little tricky. I'm gonna have to raise the engine up a little bit. Alright, yeah, just an inch or so. I'll get this belt all the way out of the way. And now I gotta get this hose off of the thermostat. And we'll grab this clip here. Just give her a good little tug. There we go. Do that for now. Take off this heater hose. Seems like it's stuck up against the back here. So let's see if we can break it loose. Dump coolant all over the place. So as I'm looking at it, I've noticed there's a lot of wetness up here. And it's not really coming, not a lot of wetness over here by the hose, but more right here in the middle. There we go. We're catching about less than half of it. This we'll just have to guess when we put it back together. Well, maybe we should have just slid it that way to begin with. Goodness. Yeah, this would definitely be easier with one of those awesome pliers. Just gotta clean off the gasket surface. That was a metal gasket, and it was red, just like the picture for the AC Delco pump. So that's a good sign. Okay, got all the surfaces cleaned off. I'm actually using this to take a second look to make sure, because I can't see this area too well. I'll take another look after I record here and make sure it's all clean. Alright, time to clean up for the night. I just got the motor mount back on here, a little more than finger tight, you know, there's no play in anything. I took the ratchet and gave it a little so it's on there solid enough. It's not going to be driven, so it's fine. Alright, new parts are in. Bolts and water pump, but the water pump is wrong, or it's not technically wrong, it's just not the one I wanted. I'll get to that in a minute. First, let's talk about the bolts and the water pump. There are two of these in the water pump. They are 60 millimeters long with a flat end, and there are three of these in the water pump, 52 millimeters long with a cone end. Only one of each length are going to get the extra 30-degree twist on them. Even though there's two of these and three of these, same part number, only one of each gets the extra 30 degrees. Along with the motor mount bolts, I got the three long ones here. There's your part number for the long ones that go in the lower half. And this is your part number for the three short ones that go in the top. And this is the trax again. Not the Cruise, this is the Chevy Trax. But I imagine if it's the Cruise, I think there's two more of these short ones up top that you'll want, but double check with your dealership. Now here is a diagram of the water pump and the bolts. Now you can see here number one points to these two bolts here. Those are your 60 millimeter bolts, your longest ones. There's two of those, but only one gets the extra 30 degrees, that one right there. And then number two, there are three of those bolts. 1, 2, 3, right? Two down here, one up there, but only this one gets the extra 30 degrees. And then there's 5 of the short bolts, number 3 here. There's 5 of those short bolts. As you look here, first it's going to tell you to remove those 2 torque to yield bolts first. Then you remove the rest of the bolts, the 5 short ones and the 3 other long ones that are remaining, and discard the gasket. And then it shows the pattern here. Then when you put it back in, you'll save those 2 bolts for last for tightening. All the other bolts besides these 2 get torqued to 71 inch-pounds, and then the last 2 get torqued to 71 inch-pounds plus 30 degrees. Just like it says here, an additional 30 degrees. I don't think you can see that. My GoPro won't focus on something that close and small. Let me try this here. Additional 30 degrees for those 2 guys there. And that is, again, standard bolt with the cone end and the special bolt, they call it, with the flat end. One of each. And let's see, that's that part number there, the 555, and this is the part number for the cone with the 11099. Now, onto the water pump itself. I did not realize, and this is at least as far as AutoZone goes, that there were 2 AC Delco choices. This one was labeled as professional, and it has a paper gasket for some reason. And you can see here there are no factory-like castings here or there. And really it's just the gasket that bothers me. I don't care about the casting marks missing, but other than it says China, I guess. I wish it was American made, but I don't know, probably everything's made in China now. So when the right one comes, there's one with a red gasket in the photo. When that shows up tomorrow morning, I'll show you what that one looks like. I just didn't like the paper gasket when the original was a red metal one, like that one there. I figured, you know, that's part of the whole point of going original water pump, is to get original equipment. And this paper Felpro, if it is even a Felpro brand, is not original style or original equipment. And that's what the back side looks like. The impeller doesn't look all that different from the other brands either, like Duralast. Alright, now here we are with the correct part number from AC Delco. That's the one you want. Has a red gasket in the picture. And this is metal and it's got ribs on it. So just like the original, this will not need silicone. Gasket should do all the work. And then also the casting itself. So it makes me wonder if this is remanufactured, but I don't know. Maybe it's not. It's got all the same casting marks. It says GM and the part number there. Another thing to note too, compared to that other AC Delco one, is that this inside is a lot cleaner looking. There's none of that casting flash left over that you need to grind away. Either they already ground it away, which it doesn't really look like that. It just looks like it's better. But yeah, this is way better than the other AC Delco one. So I would definitely recommend, they're the exact same price too. There's the AC Delco Professional that I first showed you, and then there's this AC Delco that says original equipment. Definitely go with this one when it's the same price. Has better casting, has a better gasket. Take the bolts from the old thermostat, I'm using to put on the new thermostat. I'll get the torque specs in a sec. There's already a gasket on there. Alright, so they say on the forums that these are also 71 inch-pounds, just like all the water pump bolts themselves. Oh, that's not that bad. Alright, we got the metal gasket, and we're going to use the two new bolts just to get us started and hung on there. We got the 60 mil here and the 52 mil with the cone end there. We'll go just like that, and like that. I'll come down here and hang it. I forgot about the hoses. We got to sneak those on first and tighten them up. There's only room for one hand. There we go. And I'm using worm clamps, some brand new news. I'll tighten that up after I get it situated so the hoses aren't twisted. And then we'll slide in the rest of the bolts. Using my diagram, put all these in the right spot. There you go. Yeah. That's a new one here and a new one there. That's the new 52, that's the new 60 mil. Or we'll put the 30 degrees on those last. We can go ahead and tighten everything to 71 inch-pounds in like a star pattern. Alright, so using this weird little thing. Hopefully we can get 30 degrees on her. A little more. That looks like 60. Cool. I'm going to tighten up the hose clamps that we're going to it. Oh. I'm going to find that guy again. And then there's this one on the thermostat housing over here. It's going to take me 10 years to figure out how to get to. There's actually a real easy line of sight underneath. Come up this way. Get it right there. Now we can put the pulley on with 16 foot-pounds. Slide the hoses. Now we can start buttoning up stuff. I feel like it's the something home stretch. So this hose clamp was easy enough to do. I just positioned it where I can get straight up here. But this one, since it goes underneath the core support, I positioned it facing downward, and I just came up from the bottom with a long extension and tightened it through the bottom cross member. Now you got to switch ends over to the new hose and get the orientation right. That seems to be it there. So we got to get these clamps off and get the plastic ends off. And I don't know if you look at it like in this way, these are pretty much 180 degrees from each other. I'm close enough to it. Easy, easy. Well, there we go. And the reason I'm using these tension clamps instead of worm clamps is because they're easy to get to right now. I do believe that the tension clamps are better than the worm clamps. It's just sometimes that the hose can get so deformed that the tension clamps no longer put enough tension on old hoses. But with a new hose, whoo-wee, I think it's going to be enough. I can barely get it into place. There we go. Now let's see, that was to engine. So if it goes this way, the clips go this way. I don't like that. And you got this gap you had when you pried it out before. And that means this one goes this way. Little silicone spray for the O-rings. And which one was it now? 90 degree goes to the radiator, and less than 90 goes to the engine. So I think this might be easier going from the bottom this time. There we go. There we go. There we go. I gotta plug some stuff in here. Take out this yellow cap. I'm gonna use something to push that red clip down. That's in and that's in. There we go. Now we're sneaking in there. I'll lower it back down here. Get the bottom bolt in. And we can get all of these tightened up. And they all need that extra 30 degrees too. Alright, so these are going to be 45 foot-pounds. Okay, we'll do all the other two of those real quick. Okay, so here's the rub down. I don't have room to fit that same gauge I used earlier on the water pump. So we're just gonna have to guess. I mean, we're all high school graduates here, right? We know if we start straight up and down, all the way over to the right would be 90. You can divide that in 3 and go 30, 60, 90. So we're gonna guess, is what I'm saying. We're gonna guess. So basically more than halfway in between. Yeah, we're gonna guess. Here we go. And I feel like that's actually 45. Oh, just a hair more. There we go. Now the other two I'll do from the bottom, just like when I torqued it, it's a little easier to get to from down there. Okay, now I gotta shimmy the engine over with the jack. Hold. Okay. Okay, tighten those up to 45 pounds. I am able to get the dial on this guy, so we will use it. And I torqued those nuts to 45 as well, 45 foot-pounds. So, we're in business now. Hoses are on, motor mounts in, belts on. I think we just need to put on the plastics, close that petcock. Can't forget the air box. I'm gonna slide it into the fender first. And down into the hole in the back. Don't forget the clamp down here. And line up all the grooves and the dirt marks. There is a spot for this clamp too, just like that. Sorry guys, the thing keeps shutting off because it's hot as Hades out here. But that just sits there. Now it's trying to tell me it's got a dead battery when it's half full. Yeah, so I bought concentrate, so we're going to have to mix it. Got distilled water. Hey, where are you going? My cap is, I've never used this style of screw-on cap before. And I go to use it, and it's so warped that it won't screw on. So we're doing it like this without a cap. We'll just use that dirt mark there. About a half gallon. Total fill on this whole system is 1.9, in case you were wondering. 1.9 gallons. So yeah, half gallon each.
brought us right to there. So we can start it now, turn on the heater, see what happens. Oh, I can hear it draining. You can see it go down already. And we're looking for leaks too. Okay, it's running. And you can see it's starting to burp it out before it's even warmed up yet. I got the heater all the way to red with the fan on low, lowest setting. So we'll just let it keep doing that for a little while. Alright, well while that's doing that, I'm going to button up the plastic underneath. It's pretty straightforward, guys. I'm sure you don't need to watch me do that. Alright, the fans just started to come on. We're getting a lot of bubbling out of here now. Fans are kicking on a little higher. That seems like it's starting to slow down. We're gonna let it, I'm gonna shut it off and let it cool back down for a little bit. And now it's sucked it down. I just turned it off and it's drinking it up. Put the lid on it real quick before I turned it off, so it'll kind of create a vacuum maybe. I don't know. Alright, well, we're all topped off. I let it cool off enough to take the lid back off, and we've got a steady stream coming out of this hose now. No more air bubbles coming out of either end. So I think we're done here, folks. Awesome. Now this is a 220 degree thermostat, or 221, so it does got to get pretty warm before it opens up. But it looks like it's taking care of itself. Well, that's going to do it. There it goes. Another satisfied customer. Another good job done. That was easy to burp. Another 10-15 minutes. It didn't move at all, so we're all set. Please like, please subscribe, please hit the bell, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. And until next time, peace.